Laurel, Jay Greenfield, Sandra Hernandez. Good. Welcome. All right. Got a couple more minutes. It's good to see everyone out here. All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending today. My name is Chris Snyder. I am the city staff representative for the Cultural Tourism Promotion Advisory Board. And we are here tonight or today for going over the changes and updates for the new TOT grant cycle for the applications for events and facility operators. And we'll just keep an eye on the participants as people log in. Can everyone hear me okay? Thanks, Lynn. All right. Let's see. We still got more people coming in here, and so we'll give them a couple more seconds. Thanks, L'Oreal, for that acknowledgement. All right. So we'll go ahead and transition over to the PowerPoint presentation, and I'll share my screen so that way you guys can see that. And feel free, if you have any questions at any time during the presentation, to either raise a hand if you know how to do that with the Zoom motions, or just as needed, or just speak up. Sometimes we don't always see the hands. So just feel free to interrupt or ask a question. Say, hey, Chris, I got a question about this or that. And I'm happy to stop at any time. Let me go ahead and start sharing screen. So today we're going to be talking about this is the pre-application meeting for the transient occupancy tax funding for facility operators, capital improvement projects, and for special events that take place within the city of Salem's city limits. So today is October 10th, 2024, and we've got two people waiting in the two people waiting in the waiting room. So we'll get those folks in here. Again, for those of you just now joining us, please go ahead and put your name and the name of your organization into the chat box so we have a record and get the correct spelling for your organizations. If you do have a question, just go ahead and jump in with a question. Otherwise, please keep your microphones muted so that way it doesn't interrupt anybody else. So again, my name is Chris Snyder. I work for the city of Salem, and I manage the TOT grants and work with the Culture and Tourism Promotion Advisory Board. As far as I know, Ryan is the only board member that's currently here today. Ryan, you want to say hello and introduce yourself for a second?
Hi, my name is Ryan Gale. I'm currently the chair of the Cultural and Tourism Promotional Advisory Board, and I'm happy to be here and answer any of your questions.
Thanks, Ryan. All right. Well, some of you, I don't know how many, I'm imagining there's quite a few new people here. So if this is your first time around, welcome. Great to have you here. For those that have been here a couple times, there's a few new things to share, and we'll go ahead and get started. So somebody is hijacking my coloring print. Who that is. Anyways, so the first question is, what is the CTPAB? For those of you who don't know, that's the Cultural Tourism Promotion Advisory Board. They are a volunteer board, currently with 9 members, and looks like Carly is joining us. I'm thinking that's Carly Wright, who's also the vice chair of the board. And their primary role is to encourage a unified approach to tourism in the city of Salem. And they do that with various ways. But they also do the review and recommendations for the transient occupancy tax grants, which are these applications that you're looking at today. The transient occupancy tax is a, let me see if I can clear that. That's all right. The transient occupancy tax is an overnight tax for the overnight stays at our local hotels and motels and Airbnbs. Currently, it's a 10.5% tax on your overnight stays. 9% of that tax comes to the city and 1.5% goes to the state. And we use it basically for tourism, for promoting tourism here in the city. The city has been collecting the TOT, transient occupancy tax, since 1974, so a good 50 years now. And there are 4 main things that the city of Salem's government regulations allow us to use that money for. The first one is for enhancement of the entranceways and beautification of the city. Urban beautification generally is our parks, our major tourist parks, such as Riverfront Park or Bush Park. And then also to provide funding for helping with the improvements to or operation of major tourist attractions or cultural facilities. Some of these places you may have visited, especially if you have kids, places like the Riverfront Carousel, the A.C. Gilbert's Children's Museum, Deepwood Estates and Gardens, Bush House, several places around town. And then for general events or activities that promote the use of Salem for conventions and conferences or general tourism. Again, as some of you are just coming on board, to go ahead and put your name and organization that you represent, to put that in the chat, so that way we have a record of you attending. This year's applications are going to be for the fiscal year 2026, which spans the time frame from July 1st, 2025, basically next summer, through June 30th, 2026. So it's a little bit of an advanced time frame here, but the funding that's going to be available will be available for during that time frame. There are 3 types of grants that we provide. One for facility operators or major tourist attractions and cultural facilities. And then second with that would be capital improvements to those facilities. And then third are going to be special events and projects that take place within city limits. There is an online application And actually, I think I'll jump out to that right now and let you guys take a look at that. Hopefully, when you guys received the email link last Thursday, you also saw the link for where the city's webpage is for those grants and promotions. I'll drop this into the chat so that way those that are here can get that as well. And just this is the web page that you'll need to go to provide or to gain access to the actual applications online. And you'll actually learn more about what the requirements are, what we can use the funding for, which I just talked about: urban beautification, improvements to our operation of major tourist attractions or cultural facilities, and activities generally. Here are the actual applications. These links, there are actually 3 links on here. For facility operators, we have the grant facility. This is now live for all the organizations to begin their ability to start filling out the application. There's a second link here, which is for budgetary spreadsheets. It'll give you a spreadsheet for doing the budget stuff for facility operators, and it looks slightly different for here's an audit sheet for them. And the one here for facility for events. One of the tips when you start this grant process is real quick to start out with your budget page, because you're going to use that budget page for actually jumped over here. So this is the budget for an event or a project. And this is, you'll need information off of here when you go through the application process for the written side of things. So tips would be to start with this budget piece and get this filled out. You can change or add any categories in here for the revenues, you know, if you have donations or sponsors or some other type of funding, ticket sales, etc. And you can put that information in here. In-kind items are going to be items that you don't actually receive or pay for, services or goods. So they're like donations that somebody's saying, hey, we're going to donate so much to you in the way of service or free advertising or whatever. And those numbers should match your in-kind sections on your application. And then in the expenditure side of things, you can go ahead and change and put whatever type of expenditure category title works with your organization. We do ask that you just keep the marketing one and leave that where that's at, and use, because that yellow highlight cell, you put in however much you're spending on marketing with it and all your other promotion related expenses in that line. And it'll calculate automatically based on how much you're spending, how much your budget is, how much is being spent on marketing. That's one of the questions in the application, is to identify how much that is. And then this red one will take and calculate based on your total expenses, how much of TOT monies you requested and how much of your budget is being paid for or supported by the TOT grant application that you're submitting. So that can be anywhere from 3 or 5% or 10% for a larger event, all the way up to 40% or 50% of some of the smaller events where they are struggling or just starting to get their events going. So again, this is where you'll need to go to be able to submit the online forms. Yes, I see a hand raised.
Yeah, that was mine. Good afternoon. My question is related to the percentage of the total budget that we can let me rephrase the question. Sorry, apparently my coffee's not working. The total percentage of the budget that we're allowed to allocate to the TOT grant. So can we provide you with the entirety of the budget and say we have not received any external donations at this time. Here's the full budget. Or do we have to present sponsors from the last year? Just the reason I ask is our event changes year over year depending on who's in the community.
Yep, understandable and a great question. So I guess the way that I would couch that is you have an idea of how much it costs to put on the event, and you would try and find a way of being able to fund that. So any anticipated things. So maybe hey, I know last year we got Roths to sponsor $500 or whatever. We'd like to do that same thing. Maybe it's not Roth, but maybe it's some other organization that is also going to sponsor you. So you can have a line in there for sponsorships. It could be generic, or you could spell out exactly who it is that you already know. They've come back and said, hey, we're going to go ahead and we want to sponsor you again for next year. And that's what you would do, trying to make sure that your funding for the event is sufficient to be able to put on the event. Basically.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, no, great question. As we get into it, let's see where we're at. Maybe I'll swing back to this. As you go through the application, once you get past the first page, you're going to be able to save your spot. If you find out you get to a question and say, I don't know how to answer that, or I need to do more research, or I've run out of time for the day to work on this application, you can go ahead and put in your email address, and the system will send you an email link to get back to where you left off on that. So I kind of want to talk about what's new for our facility operators. Those that are in here, new this year is there's not going to be any bank statement requirements on the financial audit. So those facility operators, you'll use the I-990 form from the IRS, which is your normal nonprofit tax reporting form. So your latest submission from the very last year that you've submitted, you'll upload that in the documents at the end of the application, in place of any bank statements. But you'll still need to complete the financial audit, which basically just says how much money do you have on hand, and then how much TOT monies you received throughout the year as a facility operator, and then what you've basically identified for spending that money on, whether it was marketing or whether it was staff or whether that was supplies or whatever, and then what your end of year financial circumstances ended up at. In order to be able to be a facility operator, there's several requirements, and that's outlined in the grant manual. And so let's see. I wanted to jump back to this application. So on this page, there's a link to, so a couple different things. Very important, there's a link to the Culture, Tourism, Promotion Advisory Board's main webpage. And this is important information because these are all reimbursement grants. Once you've completed the event, held the event, put it on, there is a reporting requirement with that. And in that report, you'll talk about, hey, this is how things went. This is how many people came. This is how many people we think came from out of town. This is what worked well for us. This is what didn't work well for us as far as marketing or promotions, or what kind of things you did. It's a short form, one-page report. And on that page, you can upload copies of your invoices and a summary sheet that gives a list of all the bills and stuff that you paid to put on the event, and tallying up what those dollar amounts are. So that way we can quickly see them and calculate it. Yes, Lynn.
Yes, I had a question about the marketing. Can we still put the subtotals under marketing, or does that mess up the calculation? You just want one line item for marketing in the budget?
Yeah, for the marketing, you, I mean, you could, it makes sense for us, the calculation, it would mess up the calculation. If you had like, I don't know, different promotion, different types of promotions that you're using, it's probably best to go ahead and just compile it all into one for the calculation piece of it. But I think what you're saying is that maybe you spent some money on Facebook ads or radio
Right,
announcements,
sure.
those kind of things, or posters or print media. Yeah, I think from the main, there's other areas in the actual application where you can speak to those. But on the budgetary spreadsheet, I would just go ahead and lump sum it and put the total amount in there so the calculation works. And then in the narrative, you can call out, the different ways that you were using the marketing money.
That's helpful. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks for the question. Let's see. Wanted to make sure that you guys knew how to get here. We'll put this also in the chat so that way you guys have access to that. I would bookmark both of those web pages. But those are the most important ones for that. Yep. And there's a link back and forth right now that's active. In the future, it gets turned off. But going back to the application, I'm going to go ahead and go through the event application for all the organizations here, because most of the people that are, all of facility operators pretty much know how to do their applications. If there's a turnover in the executive director or whatever, and you need some assistance with how to fill out the application for the facility operators, please reach out to me or Kelly during this time frame from now through November 18th, and we'll go ahead and help you walk through that or any questions you may have. But for the rest of us, there's a lot of people that are brand new organizations. I'm just going to quickly go through the application. So you would identify what your event or project title is. So let's see. I like playing disc golf, so maybe I'll have a disc golf tournament. The Salem International, I guess. And we'll say we only need $6,000 for marketing and helping put that on. Based on the $6,000, it's going to fall between a large grant of $2,000 to $10,000. And then the applicant will be the city of Salem, even though technically they can't apply for their own funding like that. We're going through this process. I am a jack of all trades, master of none. .555 Liberty Street. It will be 361. No. We ask that if you do have any social media links, to please provide those actual links into that way they can be copy and paste. Yes, you have a question?
If I can get off mute quickly enough. Is there some sort of breadcrumb in the application for the reporting? We don't specifically track all audience members. We only track the youth that we serve for our event, since we're a youth event only. So I just want to make sure that that's not going to be problematic if we receive a grant.
Let's see, what do you mean? So normally tracking stuff is going to be for primarily attendance, general attendance.
And we don't track that.
Yeah, you don't track that, or you do?
We do not.
Okay. That would be something that the board likes to know about, and it is one of the first requirements for an event, is for organizations to track that. And there's various ways that you can do that. You know, obviously you can do a head count, you know, with baseball clickers and clicking and counting how many people are actually coming to the event on the day that it's held, or multiple days. You can do an estimate, basically take a look and say, okay, you know, we think we got about 200 people that showed up for this event, you know, or 500 or 1,000. Best guess, you know, try and be reasonable about it. And then depending on the organization and the way they collect their data, sometimes they can find out like zip codes and be able to identify, hey, we know that zip code XYZ is 50 miles away or further, and they would be considered out-of-town guests or tourists for the reporting side of things for our reports. And you could make a best guess of how many people you think came from out of town that really aren't city residents.
Okay, yeah, we track zip code, city, state, all of that is just relative to anybody under the age of 18. We do no tracking directly for 19 and over. But we do a general like guess based on other metrics, but that will be sufficient, correct?
Yep, correct. That's all we're asking for.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. And we'll get to that here shortly too as we go through this application piece of it. I don't know what that is. Here's the important part of it is email address. Make sure you have an email address that you are going to get. You'll receive a copy of your application. It'll come directly to me once you've hit the submit button, and then a copy of it will go to the whatever email address you put in here. We're going to do an event. We'll hit next. And then here we are to the first question. Tell us about your organization, listing board members, etc. And then I talked about you have the ability to save and stop wherever you're at by entering in your email address twice, and then hit save, and then it'll send you an email link to that you can click on and come back to it if you need to stop at any time during the process. There's also, each window has a character, maximum number of characters, and there's actually a count at the bottom too. So let me see if I can quickly pull up. Here I pull up a application event. This is what the application will look like at the end. It'll be in a PDF core format. And I am going to copy and paste. So here's that question number 2. So copy, paste, and there's a little bit of formatting to do, but you get the idea that you can copy and paste right into the application. Put in the dates, you know what day. It's one of the requirements. Anytime you see the little asterisk, that means it's a requirement to be able to go on to the next page. You need to have put something into this box or multiple boxes that have that. So we'll just say it's on a Saturday and it's going to be, I don't know, August, no, let's say October the 12th, 2025. You know, if you have a single date, that's fine. If you need multiple dates, you can put something different into it, with multiple dates, or, just 10, 12 to 15, 2025. And that'll work too. Location. Let's do this at Woodmansey. Disc golf course there. Provide a description of the event. Shoot a little bit. Copy and paste. Okay. And you can see the characters down here is 6,939 characters out of 7,500. So we're still within that piece there, but if I was to paste it twice, you'll notice that the font changed to red. And that means that you've gone over the number of allotted characters for that box. So you'd have to back out however many you need to be able to stay within that qualifying number. Okay, so that's a nice little feature that was added this year. Here's where you can detail your marketing and promotion plans. Lynn, you asked about that. So you'd provide that information there. Here's the three main goals that the board has for helping to promote tourism in the city. One is, will the event that you're putting on, does it increase the estimated economic impact for tourism in Salem? If so, you can check that one. Will it be enhancing the quality of life and embracing a culture of inclusiveness and diversity for all Salem residents? You can click that one if that's your event does that. And then if you know that they're going to be creating room nights, that there will be people coming from out of town that will be staying at the local hotels and motels in town, you can click that one on. And then you'll be able to describe what kind of funding, how you're going to use the funding for promotions and marketing, with social and radio. And then here's the anticipated attendance piece. I'm going to skip back over this application manual. We'll have to get back to that. It's also very important to know where to find that. But for attendance, say, I don't know, we'll have 650, or we're shooting for 650 people to come to the event. We're going to do estimate of adults and clickers. Attendance. Out of that 650, we'll say that probably 450 will be from in town, and that leaves 200 from out of town. And out of those out of town tourists, maybe 50 will stay the night. And then you can figure out what the estimated percentages are based on that, and add those to that. There's a second outcome in the grant manual. There are some examples, but the second outcome could be maybe you wanted to increase the number of organizations participating in putting on the event with you. Support organizations. And or sorry, increase. So the goal is that, so that's the goal. And the outcome is to increase support from local organizations and then, obviously it's a counting method where you'll simply count up, how many different organizations were a part of your event. If you had past experience, provide what you've done in the past. And if you've completed any past TOT grant applications or events. And then here we get into the information from the budget, from that budget sheet. So it says list this financial support, such as sponsorships, grants, ticket revenues, donations. These are everything that you would expect to receive. And you can get that information if you filled out your budget form ahead of time. You would just basically copy and paste or take this information that you provided on the budget sheet and then when building your budget, and you would then provide that in written format right here. So the example here is TOT, some other grants, some sales and plant revenues for that particular organization. And then any in-kind donations. So Statesman's Journal, Travel Salem, volunteer support, plant supplies that were provided at no cost. Those kind of things would be listed here. And you would also find that on your application, on your budget sheet in the in-kind section. So marketing, Salem, Travel Salem, et cetera, et cetera. And then those dollar amounts should match the in-kind dollar match here. So and then let's see, this is going to be for fiscal year 2025. Total revenues, let's say, are 15,000. Total expenditures are 15,000. I'm going to have, say, 2,000 in-kind support and a matching 2,000 in-kind expense, in-kind expense, and that's 17,000. And then here's the end of the application. So here's also a link here to the budget document. If you hadn't gotten it already previously, you can click on the link and it'll take you to where the budget document is, which is that spreadsheet. In the meantime, once you've got it completed, you can go and upload that. Here's my budget sheet, and it's uploaded. And then there are, for the applications, for the events, if you are a nonprofit, one of the requirements is for being a nonprofit, 501c3, a C4, or a C6, you need to provide your copy of the IRS determination letter. And so you just take that PDF and update it and add it to that. And then once you've got that all filled out, hit submit, and a copy will be emailed to me, and a copy will be emailed to the email that you provided at the beginning of the application. So then here's what that looks like. So here it is, disc golf tournament, Salem International for 6,000. It's a large grant. Name of the application, City of Salem, tax ID, contact person, etc. All the information is provided. And I'll just kind of do between now and November 18th, which is the due date when these applications are due. You can contact Kelly or myself via email or telephone or however to get any additional help as you go through this. If something comes across that gets stumped on. And then all the information is provided. We just check to make sure that there's answers to it. And then we can take a look at all the different pieces that are updated. So I needed to jump back a little bit because I kind of skipped over the grant manual, which is right here. So there's a link on that main page to the grant manual. And this gives you more detailed information. Hopefully people are familiar with it. For those that are new, this grant manual goes over each of the types of the applications, facility operators, capital improvements, and special events. It provides a list of the questions that are on the application. So if you wanted to, you could take and use this manual to go through the questions ahead of time before you start actually going through the online application. There's examples of measurable outcomes for events, projects, and capital improvement project measurements. There's information about diversity, equity, and inclusion tips. There's a scoring rubric, which is how the Cultural Tourism Promotion Advisory Board will be scoring each of the questions, how many points for each of the questions, and what the total number of points are needed to have a successful application to be recommended for funding. And there's a scoring rubric for each of the applications type. All the facility operators are scored as facility operators. All the capital improvement projects are scored as capital improvement projects, and then all the events and projects are scored separately on their scoring criteria. There's examples of what the questions are for the reporting form after you've completed the event, held the event. So there's, like I said, you need to go to the Culture Tourism Promotion Advisory Board's webpage, and towards the bottom of that page is where the links for the online reporting are, and use those. So in general,
Chris, if I could just really quick, I just want to emphasize the importance of just looking for the grant manual. We try to be pretty transparent about what we're looking for, what we're scoring on, what the requirements are. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, but we try to keep all the material, there ready for you to answer your questions. So.
Yep, exactly. So here's exactly what's on the application. So the event title, the funding request, the type of grant, whether it's a small grant or large grant, your 501c application name, your ID, tax ID, any links to social media that you'd like to provide, selecting whether it's an event or a project, and then telling us about what the organization is, and as far as the board members, if you have a board, if you don't have a board, or tell us what your organization's primary goal is. What do you do? All those are important. The date of the event, the location where it's going to be held, a description of the event. So just general application information. So, and then there's always little tips here. Do you have a balanced budget where the total revenues are equal to or greater than total expenses? It's always helpful, makes it easier. But let's get back to some of the application requirements. So there are four main things that we can spend money on. Most of the organizations are going to be either a facility operator or major tourist attraction, or they're going to be for events, putting on events. So that qualifies or provides information that complies with Salem Revised Code Section 56, allowing the TOT to be spent on that. Then the next piece is applicants need to be a nonprofit organization having a 501c3 status, a C4 or C6, and they need to provide a copy of that IRS documentation at the end and upload it onto the application. If your organization is not a recognized nonprofit, we do have a separate application. It's called a non-501c application for an event. And it's allowing up to $2,000 to help promote that event. So usually we provide, we'd like to have the money be able to use for promoting any new events. So whether that's promotion materials, or whether that's radio ads, or whether that's social media blasts, whatever the case may be. We do have that smaller funding level available for those organizations. Again, there is a reporting requirement. So these funds are reimbursements. So once you've completed the event, held the event, then you'll need to do the online report and provide copies of the invoices and costs associated with putting on the event. And then within 2 weeks of me receiving those report and the receipts, a check will be issued and mailed to the address that we have on record from the beginning with your application. All of the applications are going to be due by Monday, November 18th, by midnight. Again, here's a link in the manual to the web page where you can gain access to the online applications. The board does reserve the right to alter any funding requests, to change that amount to something they feel more justifiable for either the event or the number of people or whatever the case may be. Or if we've run out of funding and we want to try and fund you, but we're not able to meet your request of a full dollar amount. Here's some of the requirements in here about facility operators. They have to be open for 12 months out of the year and have a minimum annual attendance of 3,600 people. They should be offering programs and events throughout the year and open to the public. They need to have a minimum square footage of 1,000 square feet and have at least 100 performances a year if they're a performing arts facility. Facility operators are requested to provide a minimum of 3% of their annual budget towards marketing and promotion, whether that's direct costs for radio, Facebook ads, mailings, posters, etc., or even marketing staff can meet that minimum requirement. Facility operators are limited to a maximum of 3 TOT grants every year. Typically, they'll do a facility operator grant as one. If they have any capital improvement needs, HVAC systems, lighting, flooring, repairs, etc., then they would then do a capital improvement projects as their second. And if not, then they can do 2 events, put on 2 events that would be sponsored. And so that would meet their 3 requirements. Some organizations do that and provide 3 applications a year. Some organizations only provide 1, some only 2. So each one's a little bit different. If you're a new organization wanting to become a facility operator, there are requirements that you have at least had 3 TOT grant successful events in the last 5 years, and that you need to let city staff know July of the year prior to applying as a facility operator, so that we confirm all that information. Otherwise, your application will be just denied if you're brand new. For capital improvement projects, these are a 50-50 match. They are for up to $20,000. It does require a match, and it's a reimbursement again. So they actually have to spend $40,000 on whatever the capital improvement project that they identified as to be able to receive the full $20,000 reimbursement. Typically, these applications are reserved for our existing major tourist attractions and facility operators. And then the events and projects, that's where most of everything else comes in. An organization may apply for an event or project grant. At least they can apply for at least up to 2 if you're a nonprofit status. There is limitations on those applications and on those events, that the primary focus of the event should not be for raising funds, which are not in compliance with tourism related dollars. So, and then if you are a non 501c, you're able to apply for one small grant for $2,000 and submit that application. Are there any questions at this time?
I have one.
Yes, Jackie.
Jackie. So you keep saying event, which I'm familiar with, but you also say the term project, and I guess what do you mean by project? Because it looks like that all the questions are skewed toward event. So I'm just curious about that.
Correct. The majority of applications are going to be for events. The project ones are few and far between. We've kind of defined projects. Let's see. Give some examples. So some of the projects could be something like a marketing campaign rather than an event. It could be, say you have a new website that you're trying to bring online, or you want to establish one and improve that web page for your organization. Would be a project. Something like, let's see if I can think of another example.
Elsinore Theater season program was a project we supported.
Come again, Carly? Didn't quite catch that.
The Elsinore Theater season program.
Their seasonal programming?
Yeah, the season program that they did, we supported the mailing of it to distribute further.
Yep. Another one would be like a video promotion. So there's been in the past, there was organizations that they wanted to have a nice video that they'd put on their website that told everybody about their organizations and things that they did, type stuff, as a way of promoting their organization. So that would be one of the other things that would be considered as a project rather than an event. So the event would be something that lots of people come to, and a project is just something that's presented. Hard to.
No, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions? And everything is, all of these applications, except for facility operators, are reimbursements. So you have to complete the project or complete the event, and then submit copies of invoices and billings for being reimbursed. Yes, Christina. You're on mute.
That's all right. You mentioned changes, what was new for facilities? Is there anything new for the other funds?
So there are some new stuff. So in the grant manual, I try and identify what the new items are for each of the applications. So the new, where it says new here for the events, this is we changed the wording around just to provide, rather than, we're trying to emphasize that we'd like to see some of the links, if you have social media links, we provided boxes in the application for that last year. And then this
Right.
year, we just changed up the wording, trying to make it sound like trying to invite people more to fill out the actual, provide a link or the link to their social media rather than not knowing what to put in the box, basically. Helpful tips for having a having a balanced budget, reminding people that total revenues should equal or be greater than their total expenses. Those are pretty much the main things. The only other thing, talk about facility operators, the big things for them was the question about the 3 TOT grants in the last 5 years, and then also the percentage of budget being spent on marketing and promotions, and the IRS 990 form being replacing bank statements and stuff like that. The only other thing new is that the board has made the decision that they would like to limit the amount of input provided during the public meetings by organizations. So there's not a requirement that organizations attend the December, January, and February meetings, because at that meetings they will, between the board members themselves, they will discuss each of the applications and talk about, how they're going to score or not score or something like that. But they're not going to be, they've made the decision not to ask for additional information from organizations during that time frame. So if an organization has questions about how to complete the application, you need to reach out to myself or Kelly as the staff between now and the due date of November 18th. And we ask you, please don't procrastinate. If you do have questions, we're available anytime, but we don't want to get swamped at the end of, crunch time on the evening of, I don't know, the 18th or whatever the case may be. Myself, I work a different schedule. I work 4/10s, so I'm off on Fridays. Kelly's available on a 4-hour on Fridays, but most of the time we're available Monday through Thursday on that. Let's see, was there any other questions? We've got the grant manual, the importance of that. It has all the questions in it available. We talked about the budget sheet, how you can change aspects of it if you want to make it more fitting to what you're doing. Let's see. I'm just going to quickly go back into sharing my screen on this. Again, the qualifications are nonprofit status, amount of funding, cultural facilities, major tourist attractions. Those are one type of application. Capital improvement projects, typically over the special events. And then for for-profit organizations, they're allowed up to $2,000 one time per year. And the primary focus of any of the events should not be for raising funds for non-tourism related activities. Oh yeah, the events need to take place within Salem city limits. A reminder, they have to occur between July 1st, 2025 and June 30th, 2026. So there's your time frame. Anytime between then. If a date doesn't work out for you that you originally had put on your application, that's okay, as long as it still falls within that time frame this year. Then let us know ahead of time, and we'll go ahead and take note of that. Don't forget to submit the online report after you've completed your event. Facility operators have to do their quarterly reports and their annual reports. And please provide invoices and bills on that report with a summary page is very helpful. And I can give an example to anybody who'd like to see what one of those looks like. And they're typically due within 60 days after the event has taken place. Applications are going to do November 18th. It's a Monday, after the Labor Day, or no, not Labor Day, it's Veterans Day, right? Yeah. Holiday on the 11th. Some other important dates to know. Once I do receive them, I'll go ahead and do a quick overview, just a quick check to see that the application has been completed or that there's answers in each one. I won't necessarily score or do anything other than that to make sure that we just want to make sure the application is complete, that there's some type of an answer in each of the sections. But again, once you've submitted it, that is what it is after the 18th. That's what the board will see, and that's what they're going to score on based on that. And they've indicated they're not going to be asking for any additional information or clarifications during the scoring process. The board meets monthly on the second Tuesday of each month. In December, that'll be on the 10th of December. In January, it's 14th, and in February, it's the 11th. During those meetings, those will be the public meetings in which the board will be reviewing each of the applications. Typically, what we do is we do the 9 facility operators on the 10th of December and any of their capital improvement applications that they've requested. And then January and February, we'll split up the number of events and projects that we receive over those two months to make it a little bit easier for reading. Once the February meeting is completed, a week later, the scores will be due from the Culture Tourism Promotion Advisory Board members. I'll compile the scores, and this March 11th meeting will be the meeting that will announce all the scores that have been received, and during that meeting, the board will make their final recommendation for funding each of the passing scored applications. So that's an important one to either attend, and you can attend online via Zoom, or you can attend in person, or you can watch the YouTube video afterwards out on the city's webpage for the YouTube channel for the Culture and Tourism Promotion Advisory Board. So that'll be the first time that the board member, that all the organizations will know whether or not they're being recommended for funding. Then the next steps in the process are that recommendation goes to City Council through the budget process. The budget committee will meet in April and May, and they will typically make their recommendation for any changes to the city's budget overall. I hardly ever see any changes to the grant recommendations. In the 13 years that I've been doing this or so, it's only happened maybe once or twice. And then the budget committee makes their recommendation for a budget and sends that to City Council in June. And in the first 2 meetings in June, or by the last meeting in June, they meet twice a month. At their second meeting, they will adopt the budget for the new fiscal year that starts on July 1st. Once they've adopted the budget, and I know that there's no changes, then we will send out letters via email to the emails that we have on record for each of the applicants. And we'll provide them an award letter saying, hey, congratulations, you're being recommended for support for funding. And attached is a contract to read over and sign and return. And then from July 1st till the end of the June 30th, 2026, they'll have the time to put on the event and then submit the online reports. And within 2 weeks of me receiving a report, you should have a check in the mail. Are there any questions? I'm going to stop sharing. So again, if there do have any questions anytime between now and the submission date, please go ahead and reach out to me or Kelly. My name is Chris Nider. It's just C. Nider. you see on my screen there, at cityofsalem.net is my email. It's also on the city's webpage for the Cultural Tourism Promotion Advisory Board members. Ryan, Carly, anything you'd like to add? Anything you think I missed?
No, I think you got covered everything. Just again, make sure you read the manual, read the application, and we're only reading materials that are in the application. But want to appreciate everyone for being here today. Look forward to seeing your applications.
Great. If there are no other questions, oh, yes, Jackie, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending. Make sure that you had your name and your organization in the chat so that we have a record of that. And look forward to receiving all of these applications on the 18th of November. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you.